Hi, and welcome back to the Positive Prepper. Today I'm going to talk about the monkeypox. I'm going to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole on this one, and I hope you can understand why. We seen the same scenario with Event 201, which, if you remember, was a run-through of a pandemic just months before the outbreak in 2020. And they talked about faster timelines for the jab, uh, combating misinformation, um, yeah, mRNA vaccines, and that type of thing. Now we have that same group of people discussing a fictitious place called Brinia, where this new virus originates. Keep in mind that this report was done by uh, NPI, I believe it is the name of it. Let me double check. I just want to make sure that I'm saying that right. Yeah, I believe it was the NPI. NTI. I wanted to make sure that I got that right. The NTI, so this report was done in 2021, and again, it was largely funded by the Gates Foundation. Not that that's probably a big surprise. In their scenario, the outbreak begins on May 15th of 2022. And I'm going to read you their executive summary, and it's on page 6. The report itself is 36 pages long. This is their executive summary. And you can look this up if you just type in NTI paper on monkeypox. You can go in and read this. The exercise scenario portrayed a deadly global pandemic involving an unusual strain of monkeypox virus that emerged in the fictional nation of Brinia and spread globally over 18 months. Ultimately, the exercise scenario revealed that the initial outbreak was caused by a terrorist attack using a pathogen engineered in a laboratory with inadequate biosafety and biosecurity provisions and weak oversight. By the end of the exercise, the fictional pandemic resulted in more than 3 billion cases and 270 million fatalities worldwide. COVID caused, just as a comparison, roughly 18 million deaths, although we know that that's not entirely accurate either. So discussion among their participants led to these basic key findings. The weak global detection, assessment, and warning of pandemic risk, gaps in national level preparedness, gaps in biological research governance, so that big pharma can become even more rich and powerful, insufficient financing of international preparedness for pandemics. Funny how we always have to get the banking system involved. And then to address these findings, they developed these 5 recommendations. Bolster international systems for pandemic risk assessment, warning, and investigating outbreak origins, because we know we can trust the WHO, right? Develop and institute national level triggers for early proactive pandemic response, aka lockdowns. Establish an international entity dedicated to reducing emerging biological risks associated with rapid technology advances, i.e. the life jacket. Develop a catalytic global health security fund to accelerate pandemic preparedness capacity building in countries around the world, aka global governance. Establish a robust international process to tackle the challenge of supply chain resilience. One that I might add is already broken intentionally. And again, you can just look this up. You can just Google search NTI paper on monkeypox. It does show a diagram. It's a scenario design diagram, and it shows how the attack begins on May 15th of 2022. The outbreak in Brinia, no international warnings or advisories, and then by January 10th, so roughly 7-8 months later, January 10th of 2023, there are 70 million cases with 1.3 million deaths. Monkeypox engineered to be vaccine resistant. Effects of early action, and then international supply chain challenges. And then by May 10th of 2023, 480 million cases, 27 million deaths. Revelation of terror group origins, infiltration of civilian biolab. That's all I'm going to say about that part. And then by December 1st of 2023, so 18 months from the beginning, 3.2 billion cases with 271 million deaths. Global differences in national responses contribute to significantly variable outcomes. So I don't know what to think about this. If you remember in 2020, everyone was panicking about the virus, right? The news media was in hysterics for something that actually had a very high survivability rate. With this one, there doesn't seem to be any alarm sounding. They're talking about it, but without all the hype. I'm not sure, but I would venture to believe that has something to do with who is in the big WH chair right now. And then, strangely, if you go to the CDC website, they say that there is already a vaccine for it called Ynios. It's also known as Imvamune or Imvanex. It's a live virus vaccine that's already been approved by the FDA for the prevention of monkeypox. But if you scroll a little bit farther down on that exact same page, it also says there is no proven safe treatment for monkeypox virus infection. For purposes of controlling this type of outbreak, they use a smallpox vaccine, antivirals, and VIGs. And these are about 85% effective at preventing the infection. So I'm not sure which one is right. I don't know. So should we be worried? According to the WHO, the fatality rate is somewhere up to 11% in the general population, or it could be between 3 and 6%, depending on who's talking, with higher fatalities among young children. From my research, there are 2 strains of this. One is the West African strain, which has a far less lower fatality rate. The second is from the Congo, which has a higher fatality rate, roughly 10%. So that means for every 100 infected people, 10 will die. In the NTI paper, when they ran their scenario, they went generally at around 5%. They also simulated a virus that was modified to be resistant to any vaccines, just so that we're on the same page. I find it rather suspicious that, once again, they did a report on something that just so happens to actually occur just a few months later. Coincidence yet again? Curious to hear your thoughts. So how do you prepare for this? You know, something completely out of our realm of experience, right? Smallpox has been eradicated for many, 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 many years. So many of us haven't had to deal with it. But there are a few things that you can do. So the first one, as always, is stay aware. Pay attention to the rate at which it climbs and the death rates, especially in other countries. Even our favorite news outlets aren't going to be very open, I don't think, about what's really the truth about what's going on, because most of them, I would say, pushed the life jacket. That really wasn't necessary, in my opinion. So for this one, you are really going to need to do your due diligence to find or to get to the actual truth. And that, I think that's going to be even more difficult. I think they are really going to really put a thumb down on any information that you find on social media about this. The second thing, be prepared. If this continues on a track of a pandemic, the last 2 years is going to seem like cupcakes compared to what the next 2 years would be like. Keep in mind that, again, as I said, the NTI paper, they go from May 15th, 2022 to December 1st, 2023, so roughly 18 months. It would destroy what is left of businesses. It would decimate lives that are already on the brink of destruction, and it could initiate what they have so long hoped for, right? And then also keep in mind that there's a red wave coming in November, and this might be a way to stave that red wave. Just my opinion. Number 3, keep communicating. If you have a MAG group, you may want to think about implementing your SHTF plans. We are seriously considering it. Obviously, depending on how the next couple of weeks plays out. Remember that I talked in one of my other videos that some groups are already getting to their locations and applying their prep plans. We're considering it very seriously right now, for a number of reasons. Gas, now they're saying, could be up over $6 a gallon by August, plus all the food and yada, 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 all the stuff you guys know about already. So you need to keep communicating with your MAG group. Find out where that red line is as far as a global pandemic. What does that look like and what does that mean for your group? Number 4, stay calm. This may run its course and it may not have as big of an impact as the last one was. It's just way too early to tell. It may just be an aversion, if you will, from the potential nuclear war, the numerous failures in our country, invasion at our southern border, lack of baby formula, high food gas prices, the Build Back Better thing. But there's never a time to panic. You always have to keep your head on straight and not jump the gun. You don't want to lock and load until you know for sure that there is something with this to be very concerned about. And that is a decision that you personally are going to have to make, or you with your MAG group will have to make. Okay? We know what our red line is. We know when we would ring the bell, right? Send out the SOS. But you have to do what's right for you, and at what point you actually feel like it's time to bunker in and get with your MAG group and start living in that way. So, as I've said before, I don't do these videos to put you in a state of fear, but rather in a state of preparedness. If you've been watching my channel or other prepper channels, the constant message is that we never know from which direction an even bigger SHTF will happen. We're having all of these micro, sometimes macro SHTFs, but I'm talking about the big one, right? So we have to prepare for whatever we can. Many of us also talk about the book of Revelations and how this was all foretold. But even knowing that, we are told to prepare our lamps and not slumber. So whatever happens, it's important to stay with a community of believers in prepping, but also in truth. So stay safe, stay aware, and God bless.